everybody. Here we go. Joe Seabe on Meet the Biz.
They're not in yet.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Let them in.
Here they come.
There we go.
Hi, everybody.
Good morning, everybody.
Everyone.
Hey, everyone.
What a
Everybody.
wonderful-
Hello, Joe.
Oh, you guys have a surprise.
Hey, everyone.
Hey.
what a
Yeah.
wonderful,
Good morning, everybody.
wonderful-
Good morning,
Yes, go, everybody.
Hey, everybody.
Good morning.
Hi,
Hey.
Brian.
guys.
Great to
Hi,
see you all.
Josie.
Great birthday.
I'm so excited
John.
today. I
Hey,
can't wait to
Carl.
see what's going
Hi,
to happen.
Lindor.
Linda.
My birthday's next week.
Oh, happy birthday! Happy
Morning,
early
everybody.
birthday next week.
Yeah, happy birthday coming up.
Yeah,
Anybody
Monday.
who has a birthday the rest of August.
Mine is coming up
Morning,
soon.
everybody.
All right, well,
Hey,
good.
what's up,
You guys,
boys?
listen, we have a very, very wonderful opportunity here. This is a Meet the Biz where you guys get an opportunity to interview Joe Seabe. And you know,
It's being recorded today as well.
Yeah.
we're gonna go ahead. We just wanted to pop in and say hi. We're gonna be listening and watching, but we're gonna let you guys do your thing. So have a wonderful, wonderful time together. You know, you can find out all the deep, dark secrets that Joe keeps in his brain. That
I'm
is-
gonna tell you a lot more than Green if it-
Yeah, David.
You guys an opportunity to think about things like, you know, what is your process in songwriting? How do you come up with ideas for songs? If there's things that, you know, you've seen in all his wonderful classes that you haven't had an opportunity to ask him about, now's the time to do that. You know, you got someone with a tremendous amount of experience here. And
Thank you.
Oh,
you know, he's an open book. Joe will answer anything you want. Well,
I
almost.
sure will. Yeah.
Okay, well, listen, you guys have a
Have a
terrific
great
time.
class. We'll be
Let's
watching.
John, let's
live.
again.
Thanks, John and Megan.
Okay,
Both.
John.
All right.
Both. And thank you for
Okay, bye, John.
everything. Thank you.
Megan.
Hi, Isaac.
Hey.
Lonzo, Ron, the whole gang.
Hi,
The gang's all here.
Hey, Matthew,
Look at Linda
Yeah,
is
it's going
dressed
to
up in
my
that
big
beautiful
brother, best
dress.
I
She's
love
ready.
it.
Hey,
You got all gussied up.
Hey,
You look-
Devon.
Everybody looks so
absolutely
amazing.
Hi, Joe.
Oh
Hi.
my goodness.
Hey,
Hi,
Joe.
Rocky.
So everyone,
Hey, David.
we're here. We're doing another live Meet the Biz.
We're doing a live Meet the Biz right here. I'm in every one of your
Right
living rooms
on.
right now. It's a wonderful experience.
I love it.
I tell you, well, you know who's on today. We all know this man. He is,
Joe
I mean, this
Seabe.
man is magic. He's talented. He has a heart full of love. And of course, he's a major part of Performing Arts Studio West family. For how many years, Joe?
Since like 2008 or something.
Wow, that's pretty cool,
Wow.
Joe.
He is a
I think so.
guitarist. He's a vocalist. He's a songwriter. He's a producer. Let's bring him on. Let's bring him on. Joe Seabe. I'm searching for
Good
you, Joe.
morning,
There's so many
everybody.
people on this right now. It's hard to. We'll find. Oh, there he is. There he is. Add spotlight. Oh,
Hello, everybody.
Right on, Joe.
add
David, I
spotlight.
just want to say thank you for even having me do this today. It's wonderful, and I'm humbled by your the suggestion that you would ask me to be on here today. So
Oh
Thank
my
you for that.
God! Well, Joe, you're the man. You are the man of the music. Oh, there I am. I thank
there's
you.
There's David in the flesh, right there.
Right on.
You know, we were talking a little about Ruth Buzzy before the show started, but
Yeah.
who I'm blanking. Who did that?
Oh, Rick Taylor.
That too. He did it too. Anyway, Joe.
Yeah.
Joe. You know, I could. There's so many questions that I want to ask, but I
Okay.
won't be greedy today. I'll ask a few, but then what we're gonna do is we're gonna go. I have co-hosts today,
Oh,
and
that's great.
my
Wow.
the co-hosts for Meet the Biz are all of you.
Hey, there it is.
Right
love it.
on. I love it.
I love it. So
Me
I'm
too,
going to
Bill.
ask maybe a couple of questions. I might throw one in here and there throughout the day, but I do want to. How many years have you been in the music industry?
Wow. Well, I started out, as a little kid. I loved, music, always did, gravitated always. My parents were very musical. My mom is an amazing singer. My dad, not so much, but my dad loved music. And our household, since I remember being alive, I always heard like soul music, R&B, like the Supremes. My dad was a Smokey Robinson fanatic. I grew up with doo-wop. My dad was a doo-wop. He loved doo-wop, like Little Anthony and the Imperials and the Del Vikings and all these a cappella groups, Johnny Maestro and the Brooklyn Bridge. So I grew up hearing all these great singers and all this soulful music, and I loved it. As a little kid, I loved it. And my Aunt Kay had a guitar, and I was like really, in fact, I lived at my grandparents at the time. And I would literally crawl into her room and strum the guitar. It would be like laying on the bed, and I would just strum it. And just to hear the sound of the strings, I loved it. It just made me feel good. And I didn't know how to play yet or anything. I was just, just hitting the strings, and I loved the sound that it made. And then, and so in my household, everybody's listening to music. My mom would sing as she does the dishes. She'd be singing all kinds of, from Patsy Cline to, jazz songs. And, my mom, like I said, she has a beautiful voice. She's got a great pitch. She sings in harmony with me. Me and her sing in harmonies all the time. It's so much fun. But, and then I remember seeing the Partridge Family on television.
Oh, yes, I loved it.
And of course, I saw the Jackson 5, and then I saw the Osmond brothers, the Osmonds at the time. And I always remembered guitars in these shows. And I just wanted to get a guitar. So I asked my mom and dad to get me I wanted a real electric guitar for my for Christmas. I was 6 years old. I asked for a guitar.
Do you still have that guitar?
I don't. Oh my God, I wish I did. I know what kind it was though. It was a Tesco Del Rey, a student model, Tesco Del Rey. They're worth a fortune now. I wish I still had it. I could have probably bought a house with it. Yeah, I'm serious.
Wow.
And it was down there under the Christmas tree that morning, Christmas morning. And I was, in my Mickey Mouse pajamas, just going crazy. And I picked it up. I didn't know how to play it. In fact, I didn't even know it plugged into something. And I said, where's the cord? I knew it was electric, but I thought it plugged into the wall. That's how much I didn't know about guitar then. And my mom and dad said, you can't plug it into the wall, Joey. You need an amplifier. That was the first time I ever heard that word amplifier. I'm like, what's that? And they're like, well, an amplifier is what makes the sound louder, so people can hear it. I said, because I'm playing it. I'm like, this is really low. I can't hear it too good. Not like Aunt Kay's guitar with the big hole in the middle.
Right.
And they're like, that's because you need an amplifier. And I was like, oh, okay. So my mom sends me to guitar lessons. And every time I picked the guitar up, I always picked it up left-handed, right? Even though I'm right-handed, I would always pick the guitar up left-handed. And so when my mom sent me to Music City for lessons, the teacher there, the lady there, it was a woman, she always made me play it right-handed this way. And I couldn't do it. I couldn't even hold it like this. It felt so alien to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this went on about 3 weeks. And then my mom says, what did you learn? Show me what you learned. And I broke down in tears and I said, I didn't learn anything. I learned nothing because the lady makes me play right-handed. And my mom said, so I take it you don't want to go anymore. And I said, no, I don't want to go to her anymore. I said, I'm going to teach myself.
Yeah.
And I did. I taught myself. And I would get, and this is before YouTube, you guys, this is before the internet. You had to learn the hard way, you know? So like, I went to the music store and I bought a chord book, and it showed you where to put the fingers. It had like little dots. I didn't even know how to tune a guitar. In fact, for a long time, I was just making an open chord and I would just move my finger all around the neck because I didn't know any other way.
Wow.
So everything I've learned is totally organic from myself, like everything, you know? And so then some kids in the neighborhood who are a little better than me started teaching me how to tune the guitar, how it sounded when it was open. And then that later on, I got the music book. I went to Cincioli's music store in Philly, got a music book, and started to learn just some simple basic chords like D major and C and G, and you know, all the chords you learn how to play when you're at a barbecue, you know, at night with a bunch of friends and you're sitting by a fireplace. So then I got a chord book and I started, you know, putting my fingers where the dots were. And it was weird because I didn't even know what a bar chord yet was, because there was some pictures that had more dots than I have fingers. And I'm like, well, how do they expect me to do that chord? But I didn't realize that this finger bars over all the other strings.
Yeah.
And then these do the voices, right? So I didn't even know that yet. So then I started listening to records, you know, and then I discovered, so I grew up with all this like R&B, and every time I heard rock though, or guitars, it got me so excited. And like my mom would be surfing stations on the radio and I'd hear like Jimi Hendrix for a second, like Purple Haze. And I'd be like, Mom, what was that? Put that back, put that back. And she's like, you like that? I'm like, yeah, I love that. I want to hear it. You know, the loud guitar just did something to me, you know, it made me feel excited. And so my mom would play it for me. So, you know, so growing up, I had this soul background, this R&B and soul vibe, but then I loved the rock too. So, and then I discovered bands like Kiss and Queen.
Oh my gosh.
And Black Sabbath. And all my friends growing up in high school, they loved that kind of stuff.
Joe.
And so did I.
Joe, have you thought of writing a book?
You know, you're the second person that said that to me this week. You're literally the second person. I swear to God, you're the second person that said that to me this week.
I love it. Well, I think there's something in the air.
Maybe.
Listen, what I want to do is, again, like I said, I have a plethora of questions that I could ask you, but I'm not going to be greedy. I'm going to throw them in here and there. But what I want to do is, and I just want to let you know, I want everybody to be able to get to ask a question. Here is the thing.
Sure, please.
We do have till 1 o'clock today.
Mm-hmm.
If you do not, for some reason, get your question in today, we'll come back and be sure everybody gets to ask you a question. Yes?
Absolutely. Sure.
I love it. So, hey.
I'm here.
Joe's here. I'm here. And right now, I'm going to give the floor to one of my co-hosts today, the wonderful Matthew Payne.
Hey, Matt Payne.
Hey, Joe, how's it going?
It's good, man. How are you?
All right. Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Okay. When you went from analog recording to learning Pro Tools, how long was that learning curve?
Well, you know, here's the thing about that. When I was at that point, when it was all analog, I was an artist still. So I didn't really do engineering or producing yet. Like I would go with bands to studios and help them put their songs together. And I'd accompany bands in the studio. But at that time, studio, they had their own engineer there. And I would work with the producer with bands. So I was taking a lot of baby bands from Philly and grooming them because they were asking me for help. So I would go in the studio with them. But I didn't really do a lot of the legwork as far as the technical skills with the tweaking knobs and like, but I would tell the engineer what I wanted it to do. So I basically did learn my entire thing in the digital realm because when I became the engineer and the producer, it was in the digital era.
Okay, so it's you were around it, but by the time you became a producer, Pro Tools was the first thing you learned.
Yeah, well, Cubase first, and then Pro Tools. I learned Cubase first, but I did live sound, you know, for a lot of years. When I lived in North Carolina, before I made the move to California, I had a good friend in Philadelphia who was a sound engineer, the best live sound engineer that I've ever met. In fact, to this day, I've ever met. His name is Hoppy Riddle. His real name is William, but everybody calls him Hoppy. He's about 6'5". He's got hair down to his waist, and he's like one of the best sound engineers ever. And here's the weirdest story. I was moving to North Carolina from Philly. I come to find out after being there for 2 weeks that Hoppy has moved to North Carolina. But North Carolina is a big place, so it could have been anywhere that he moved. So I'm in Asheville, North Carolina. I walk in this club because someone told me from Philly that the rumor is that Hoppy is working at a club close to Asheville or in Asheville. So there was this big club called Be Here Now. I walked to the door. There was a line going all the way down the street because Arlo Guthrie was playing that night there. So I said to the doorman, hey, is there a guy that works here? His name is Hoppy. And he goes, yeah. And I was like, get out of here. The first place that I went to, based on a rumor from a friend in Philly that he was really working at this club. So he comes out and greets me, gives me a big old hug because we've been buds for like, you know, the better part of 10 years. I walk in with him and he's like, you know, and I'm sitting with him now at the soundboard. So to make a long story short, cut to 2 weeks later, he tells me, I got some good news and some bad news. I said, what's the bad news? He goes, I'm leaving Be Here Now. I said, what's the good news? He goes, I'm giving you my job. And I said, what? And he goes, I'm going to train you how to do the live sound because I'm going on the road with Snoop Dogg. I'm doing his monitors on the road. So I said, all right. So he gives me a crash course. So every single night, 6 nights a week, I'm working with him as his like protege. He's showing me how to wire the stage, put the clamps on the drums with the microphones, where to put the clamps and how to change the stage. And so do the sound checks, how to run the monitor boards, how to do all that. He taught me that and then left. And I had to do it all on my own. I was on my own. And when I say on my own, I had nobody to help me. And I was doing national acts like Paula Cole and Sarah McLachlan and the White Stripes and the Jesus Lizard and, you know, big artists. And there was no one to help me but me. So I had to really pay attention to everything he was telling me because, and let me tell you something, after 5 years or 6 years doing live sound in this industry, everything that can go wrong will go wrong twice. So be ready. It's crazy. It's crazy how much you can't believe things will go wrong at the worst times. So that was where I got my, and so that is kind of analog. I mean, I always understood how that works. Okay. But that was my first real introduction to hands-on wiring a band up, setting the stage up, and, you know, getting their monitors. Everybody in the band can hear whatever instrument they want to hear the best, because there's a speaker next to each band member on the ground. They're called monitor wedges. And you give, and you have the ability to give, like, let's say the drummer's in the back and he says, I don't want to hear any guitars. I only want to hear the vocal and the trombone player and the bass player over here. So you bring up only those guys in his mix. So that's all he hears, you know? And then the horn players, they want to hear something totally different. All we want is the drummer and the singer. We don't want anything else. And I'm like, okay. So you got to write all this down and get this all done. And then sometimes you have two bands. The craziest one I ever had was I had two bands come in. It was a snow night. We almost canceled the whole night because of snow. One of the bands got lost, so they were an hour and a half late, which was the headlining band. and they were called, what were they called? I can't remember their name now, but they're big band. But anyway, the opening band had as many people as the big band, and there was like 12 people in this group. I get them all wired up. The stage is wired up. Now the headlining band comes in to load in. There's already people in the club. We're supposed to be open. Sound checks are done now, but that wasn't the case. So what I had to do was I had to remember everything that I set up and take like well, you didn't have cameras then. We didn't have cell phones, but I wrote down all the settings from the monitor mixes. Then the band, the headlining band had to come in. I had to take everything down off of the instruments of the opening band, have the other band set up, then rewire their stage, and then give them a whole different mix than the other band.
Wow.
And it was a nightmare.
Oh, the
It was
story.
like, just think alone, a drum kit live has 8 microphones on it. Just the drum kit.
Yeah.
So you're talking about 8 mics. They had 3 horn players, 2 keyboard players, a bass player, a guitar player, a lead singer. Both bands had the same amount of people, but you know, the weirdest thing was their stage setup was so different. Their drummer was here. Their drummer was here. It was crazy. And it was a nightmare, but it taught me a lot about remaining calm under pressure.
Wow.
Because if I freaked out, the whole night would have been a disaster. So I had to stay on my game and just focus. And it taught me a lot about working in a crisis. So
I tell you, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, your stories, again, I'm saying,
Yeah.
when are you going to write your book? But like Matthew Payne, what a great question. I mean, he asked this one question and you just like, there's gold that comes out from you.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate it. I hope that answered your question, Matt.
Yeah, I hope
Is he
so
still
too.
there?
I think I'm sure he's here somewhere around here. I'm sure he's here. But we do have next,
Yeah.
we have Matt, let's see, James Powell. James Powell.
James and the Giant
Hey, Joe.
Peach.
Hey, David.
Hey.
Hi, James. What's your
Hey.
question, bro?
My question is how long you been in the studio for last long time ago?
Oh, you mean like a recording studio?
Yeah, recording studio. Yeah.
Well, the first time I ever went in a recording studio, the very, very first time I ever walked inside a recording studio was with my band Sick Vicky. There was a club in Summerdale, New Jersey called the Galaxy. It's where a lot of the big Philly bands got discovered and became famous. Cinderella, Brittany Fox, a lot of big bands in the 80s that got discovered there. Well, we were one of the bands that played there. We were one of the bands. We used to open up for bands like Cinderella and Brittany Fox and all these bigger bands in Philly. And upstairs from the club was a recording studio called the Galaxy Recording Studio. So you could play downstairs and record upstairs, during the daytime. So the guy who ran the studio upstairs, his name was Chester, really nice guy. He was the engineer up there. So we did our first ever 3-song demo, and we recorded the first 3 songs I ever wrote in my life, which was called, remember, we were like a really dark kind of heavy rock group at the time. We got very commercial much later, but in the very beginning, we were very dark, and we sang about very dark imagery, So we had a song called Sick Vicky. We had another song called The Gates of Hell. And the other song I can't even remember right now. Oh, Run for Your Life. So they're the 3 first songs I ever wrote as an original artist. So I went up there. The demo, I don't even have it anymore. I'm sure one of the band guys have it, but it was only a 16-track analog studio, very, very primitive. But it was our first time in a real studio. And we were so excited and happy. yay, we're in a studio, you know, like we were like, so
Yeah.
we were high-fiving each other and we couldn't believe it, you know, and so that was my very first time in the studio. I think that was the year from that was 1983. So the first time I was ever in a real recording studio was 1983.
83.
Mhm.
You know, it's so interesting too how time you know passes. I mean, it seems like 1983 was like just a second ago.
I know, David. I don't know where time goes, man. I
Oh,
really don't.
I
It
don't
just
know.
goes so quickly. Time just escapes, you know, and yeah, it just, you know,
Time.
yeah, is on my side. Yeah.